Patrick Meyer here, Thermoplastic Line Tubing Product Line Manager for Lightning Production Services, to talk to you today about proper handling and care procedures, as well as some operational stuff to expect when dealing with thermoplastic line tubing products such as our LF115. Once you receive your line tubing on location and get ready to run it into your well, there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind. You want to leave the pinion thread protectors on until you pull each joint to the derrick to run into the hole, so you're not dragging the liner when you pick each joint up. But you can remove the boxed-in thread protectors just like you would normally. Also, when installing the thermoplastic line tubing, LPS recommends utilizing a stabbing guide, which we can provide, in order to keep from damaging the pinions when making connections. If you don't have a stabbing guide, the main thing is you want to make sure your workover rig hands just slow down, make sure they're careful when making up each joint. These resins are very resilient, but it is still a plastic and it can be broken. Being as thermoplastic tubing liners are mechanically bonded to the tubing and there is no adhesive, meaning that the liner is installed into the tubing as tightly as possible, you will occasionally see what we call creeping, where the liner looks like it's growing out the end of the tubing, essentially. On the pinion side, thermoplastic liners will expand and contract due to the temperature on surface as well as downhole. So in the Permian, for example, we typically see more of this creeping. This is completely normal, and in different resins will have different amounts of creep. Up to ½ an inch can be normal, but you're good to install up to 3/4 of an inch. Due to the creeping, among other reasons, this is why we put extended coated couplings on all of our tubing, meaning the coupling is about 1 inch longer than standard. It is also there to help with over torquing on installation and when working your wells over in the future. Also, in the future, when you are pulling a string with thermoplastic line tubing in it, you may come across a few joints that have creep pinions. They're okay to stand back like normal as long as the creep is not in excess of the previously mentioned 3/4 of an inch. But in almost all circumstances, the liner will relax after it cools down overnight. Then it should go back to normal. So if you get joints that are further than the 3/4 of an inch, lay them down carefully and check them again in the morning before running back in the hole, and they should be back to normal. You normally won't see more than a couple of joints like this when the installation was in a new unused tubing, but I have noticed that there tends to be slightly more creeping in used tubing due to the uneven wall loss and the fact that thermoplastic line tubing is mechanically bonded. Again, this is normal, and in most instances will be fine to reinstall, but if you ever have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me to verify. In colder areas such as the Bakken, where the temps get below 0 degrees, we see the opposite of the Permian, where the liners will shrink up so much that it could potentially pop the pinions off completely. Here at LPS, we have done extensive testing and have developed processes and procedures to keep that to a minimum in order to be as successful as possible in these colder regions. On a new installation of new thermoplastic line tubing, hydro testing is neither recommended nor is it necessary, but if your SOP insists, LPS recommends to run the line tubing portion of your string and then drop a standing valve and test it down hole, if possible. Same thing when working your well over in the future. If in the event you are working your well over in the future and you're still showing signs of hole in tubing in the line section and you want a hydro test going back in, we recommend testing with pressures as low as possible in order to not damage the thermoplastic liner. But we have had multiple customers hydro test tubing at their normal pressure ranges without any issues. It's just something we want you to be aware of. And to touch real quickly on scanning out of the hole, the thermoplastic liner doesn't impede your ability to achieve an accurate scan, nor does it affect your ability to scan at all. You just won't be able to see the liner itself with the scan. These are just a few things to keep in mind when running or rerunning thermoplastic line tubing, but if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you.